Lazy Project Manager is sponsored by Office Timeline. If you need to make elegant timelines and Gantt charts that clients and executives can understand, try the Office Timeline PowerPoint add-in. Designed to work right inside of PowerPoint, it's familiar and requires no learning curve. And with it, you'll quickly build stunning project visuals and can easily update them on the fly as plans change. Try it for free at officetimeline.com/Peter to see how it makes your presentations look awesome. That is officetimeline.com/Peter.
Well, here we are. Podcast 193. That's incredible. It's all kind of started off quite a few years ago. It was a bit of fun doing a podcast, see how it worked, see if anybody would listen. And here I am now on episode 193 with quite a few listeners out there. So thank you for your attention and your time. The podcast this time is going to be me talking about things that are important to me. We're going to cover off a couple of topics, areas that I'm kind of focused on, which perhaps is a little different and perhaps an area that I might be able to help you and your organisation, perhaps, we'll see. And it's also, there's an event coming up which is really very important to me, and I want to share that with you, and I hope to be able to see a lot of you at that event. It's going to be in London, so that, and that excludes a whole chunk of my global audience, but if you happen to be in London on the 5th of September, then I'd love to see you, and we'll talk about that shortly. But let's kick off with the first thing, because I was engaged recently working with a company to effectively talk about project management for non-project managers. Now, I've done this a few times. I've done this for marketing groups, our marketing team. I've done this for a sales team. I've done this for a broad organizational representation, across all of departments, from finance to sales to marketing to product, etc. And most recently, I was invited to do a recording of a webinar for a group of people who are executive assistants, the PAs of the world, the senior PAs, and it kind of struck me that this is, well, it's a lot of fun to do, because you have to think about describing project management in the terms of not being a project manager as such, and not necessarily knowing all of the terms and phrases that we in the world of project management know and love to repeat ever so often. I mean, that's true of any industry, any part of industry, any part of business. We have our shorthand, we have our phrases, we have our terminology. It is a kind of code that we speak in. And project management is no different. So the first thing I had to do was strip out the code and start talking about project management in very practical and simple ways, only to get the message across. I'm not suggesting that the audience is simple in any way at all, of course not. But to get the message across, you had to kind of simplify things. And this is something I've done in the past. Keeping it simple is one of my mottos, one of my mantras. And on that basis, it's good and refreshing for me to kind of step back and consider how I'm going to talk about some of the key areas of project management. So in this one, it was all a matter of understanding your stakeholders. It was very much around understanding the scope of what's being asked of you. It's very much around communication, very much around the risk that is undertaken. And the last part is my old favourite, which is learning from the experience, the lessons learned, the lessons shared, the lessons acted upon. So this is, I think, an important topic. Something I think a lot of us should do is to reach out to the world and share our knowledge of delivering change, delivering transformation, big change, driving projects and delivering project success. But I'd love to, if you work in an organisation, for example, and you'd like to be perhaps better represented, perhaps better understood about what it is that you do, whether you're running a PMO or whether you're just a project manager or a program manager or just in the sense of being on your own. If you want the rest of the business to understand more about what it is that you do, then you might consider having a chat with me. And I'm available at www.thelazyprojectmanager.com. And I'd love to talk to you about coming in and possibly spend the session talking to people, run some fun exercises. I have the Project from Hell, which is always good fun to do. It really does showcase the elements of project management, the importance of project management. So please do reach out to me. Anything and everything to do with project management, but this kind of focus of project management for non-project managers is something I think is really important and really valuable. So please contact me and let's talk about it. How can I help you? All right, that's the kind of first topic. The second thing is the kind of big milestone. You've heard me, if you listen to earlier episodes, then you'll hear me talk about this is my the 10th anniversary year of the Lazy Project Manager. And it's hard to pick a certain date when the Lazy Project Manager came into existence, because it didn't work like that. In actual fact, the concept took place or came about the year before, or late the year before, but the creation of the first presentation, the creation of and writing of the book, the publication of the book, that all happened in 2009. So that's why I'm celebrating 10 years of the Lazy Project Manager. And I have memories, fond memories of that day. I mean, the book had, again, the book doesn't just appear on the market. It's not like a new Harry Potter. It gets published here and it appears on Amazon eventually, and then it became an ebook and things like that. It all takes time for these sort of things to come about. But as far as the event in September is concerned, it's the closest I get to the date, because it was the 1st of September, and I was in the basement of the BBC, which kind of sounds glamorous, but it really wasn't that glamorous, because it was a very small room and it had a microphone, and I was set up to do a whole series of interviews. I think there were perhaps 8 during the day, something like that. It was a reasonable number of BBC radio stations, the regional radio stations, to phone me in and talk about the Lazy Project Manager. And some took it as a kind of humorous thing. Some were quite challenging in the concept of being lazy and being productive. Some just latched onto the book. Not all of them talked about project management as such, but I emerged from this dark basement where it was just myself and a sound engineer towards the end of the afternoon, and that for me was the launch of the existence of the Lazy Project Manager. As I said, the book was out. I remember after that I wandered down to one of the big bookstores. And I was thrilled to go and see a copy of my book. In fact, I think they had 2 copies on the shelf. And yes, I did the thing that any new author would do, is I took the 2 copies out when they were they were in spine first, or spine facing you, and I immediately took them out and placed them so you could see the whole cover. They probably were put back quite quickly after I left, but hey ho, it was a thrill to see myself as a published author. It's a wonderful feeling. So the closest I can get to this is the 5th of September. So this is the Thursday of that week, and PMI, the UK London group, have kindly agreed to host an event. It's going to be at the University of Westminster, and it's going to be an evening, an audience with the Lazy Project Manager, which is going to be a mixture of some extracts from the most popular keynote presentation I do, which is based on the Lazy Project Manager. It's going to have a bit of a fun exercise in the middle of it as well, and we're also I'm going to talk about some of the interesting milestones that I've experienced during the 10 years. Moments like sitting in Auckland in a lunchtime in a bar down by the seafront, having some food and an excellent glass of white wine, and just realizing that I was on the other side of the planet, based and solely on the fact that I had a little book of 30,000 words published, and people were aware of it on the other side of the globe. Those are moments that kind of think, wow, and here we are, 337 presentations later. 25 countries I've been to, and I'm still loving it, still enjoying it. So if you are around in London, if you would like to come out for an evening, then just go onto the PMI website and search for it under events. You'll find me. As I said, it's going to be the University of Westminster. I think it kicks off at 6 o'clock or something like that. And it'd be great to meet you, great to say hello if I haven't met you before. And we can have some fun. It's not going to be a serious evening. Yes, it does. It starts at 6 o'clock. There was some real-time Google searching on my own events. So an evening with a lazy project manager, 5th of September 2019 at 6 p.m. at the University of Westminster. Save the date. So I hope to see you there. All right. The final thing I want to talk about is kind of the other thing that's really kind of big for me. You may be aware that I wrote a book with a couple of other people. So it was about sponsorship, and it was in recognition of the challenges that organizations seem to face when it comes to project sponsorship. Again, you may have seen it. I wrote a blog very recently, which was that project managers are from Mars and project sponsors are from Venus. And I talk about the fact that it's, the two worlds need to come together. And that's based on the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, that was written by John Gray and sold 50 million copies. Yeah, that's one or two more than my own best-selling book, The Lazy Project Manager. I freely admit that. He was far more successful than me. But, I wrote this book, Strategies for Project Sponsorship. It's published by Management Concepts Press. I wrote it with Vicky James and Ron Rosenhead. And we did it to kind of understand the world of project sponsorship right now. And when I talk about sponsorship, I teach people that sponsorship can be identified or assessed in three numbers, and the three numbers are 85, 83, and 100. And it's simply this, based on a survey that we did for the book, we found out all the organisations we talked about, 85% of those organisations said they had sponsors in place, which is kind of great. You wonder about the 15% who were doing projects. Well, how did they manage that role of the project sponsor? But then we asked the second question, which was, how many of those organisations do anything to help their project sponsors be successful? Do they train them, guide them, support them, mentor them, etc.? And 83% came back with the confirmation that they did absolutely nothing. They just assumed that they would be successful. And then we asked the final question, and everybody thinks, is it important to have a project sponsor? And everybody said yes. So this is the crazy world that we're in with regards to project sponsorship. I mean, I would argue that we are in the generation of the accidental project sponsor. I came from the generation of the accidental project manager, but here we are in the generation of the accidental project sponsor. And these guys are supposed to be ultimately responsible for the success or failure of the project. So this is something I've looked at very closely, and I've done some work with a number of organizations, and I have a sponsorship sort of maturity approach. It's kind of too complicated to go into here, but in essence, you have to deal with both audiences: the project managers who work with the sponsors that exist, and we have to work with the project sponsors as a group and help them understand the world of project managers. And then we kind of do some coaching around bringing the two together, and we do some assessments and evaluations, etc. And this is another area I'd love to get involved in. So I'm doing it for a couple of organizations at the moment. But if I can help you in your organization, if you feel that you are challenged in the project delivery that you are undertaking right now, and part of that challenge is to do with the quality and the experience of the project sponsors that you work with, then I can definitely help. So please, again, set me up for a conversation, drop me a note, connect to me on LinkedIn, drop me a message that way, or go to my website, www.thelazyprojectmanager. But don't worry, let's have a chat and let's see where it goes. I mean, if it's something I can help with, I'll help with. If I can give you some advice, I will do that. So please, don't hesitate on these things. Come on out, come on, join in, etc. Let's keep the conversation going with regard to project sponsors, and also, as I said, with the previous one, which is to do with project management for non-project managers. These are really important topics, I think, for everyone or everybody to talk about, because it can do nothing but good as far as I'm concerned. If we can raise the capability of our project sponsors, then that's fantastic. If we can raise the awareness of other parts of the organisation about the great work that you do as project managers, then that would be great as well. So that's it from me. As I said, a couple of events coming up. I will be in Croatia in August, working with NetGen Summer Camp. I'm looking forward to that. It's a week in Rovinj, which looks a glorious place at the end of August. I'm going to be in PMI Netherlands, Amsterdam. We're just wrapping that one up. That's going to be a workshop and a presentation. I'm going to be out in Orlando in October at the Digital Project Management. I'm opening keynote for that. And then I have a whole bunch of stuff going on with PMI Switzerland during November, where I'll be speaking in Zurich and in Basel. And then I'm wrapping up the year. At the moment, I'm wrapping up the year in Hungary, Budapest, where I'll be doing a presentation on the project manager who smiled. But as I said, also in there is this 5th of September, the one in London, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to all of them, of course, but this one, obviously from my point of view, is has a little bit of emotion attached to it. Pretty much 10 years to the day since I really started first talking about the Lazy Project Manager. That's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to hearing from you. Don't hesitate. Reach out to me, www.thelazyprojectmanager.
Hi Peter, it's Nigel Creasy here from the Sunday Lunch Project. I wanted to congratulate you on your 10-year anniversary of the Lazy Project Manager. Always loved the book. Inspired me to write my books. So have a great time. I've got to say, the question you asked out on your podcast around which items and which parts of the book really stood out to you and you've used made me think about it. And whilst I think I've used large parts of it, the thing that struck me was the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule. Sitting there looking at things, whether it's my work, whether it's work of other people, and going, have we done the right amount? And are we going to spend loads of time wasting money trying to get it to be the perfect thing instead of the appropriate thing? So again, congratulations, and I hope you have a great lot of celebration. All the best. Nige, bye.
Don't forget to check out Office Timeline, the PowerPoint add-in that will make your project timelines and Gantt charts look awesome. Get your free trial at officetimeline.com/Peter.
Stay in bed.